4th District Congressman Tom Cole represents several communities slammed by tornadoes this week, including Moore. That tornado narrowly missed his home in the Oklahoma City suburb. In a Newsmaker interview, I spoke with Congressman Cole about the latest tornado disaster to strike Moore and the relief effort. The president has promised what is needed in Oklahoma. How do you see the recovery process playing out?
Well, there's multiple things. I mean, the first thing, obviously, is the initial response, where you're just simply trying to help people. People have lost family members. If you lose a house, I always say, there's a whole disrupted set of lives usually in a house, and we've got 13,000 houses that are either destroyed or heavily damaged in this affected area. We have a long history of disaster relief in this country. It actually goes back to almost the beginning of the Republic, and we've always recognized if citizens are victims of forces that are simply beyond their control, and that they certainly had no responsibility in. It doesn't matter if it's a great flood, it doesn't matter if it's a tornado, it doesn't matter if it's a hurricane, that there's an appropriate federal response. So, I don't think there's much question that there is a federal role to play here. The programs are there. They ought to be used. The second question is always the question of offsets. That is, should it be paid for with cuts in other parts of the budget? Now, in the case of Moore, that's probably not going to be something we need to worry about. We already have $11 billion appropriated in the FEMA disaster relief program. This disaster is going to be expensive. It's certainly well over $1 billion, maybe $2 billion, but we probably have the resources on hand to do what we need. The real challenge becomes when you're talking about 60 or 70 or $100 billion disasters. And that's something the public needs to keep in mind. As awful as what happened in Moore is, and as terrible as it is if you're within the affected area, remember this is 17 miles and it's about 1.25 miles wide. The rest of Moore is working. Oklahoma City and Norman are working. So it's not like, Sandy or Katrina that take whole states out of action, destroyed infrastructure over tens of thousands of square miles. So they're really not comparable. I do think there's always a federal component there. I think in the end, you always put people first. I think the discussion can be helpful. That's fine. You want to be prudent. If there's cheaper and better ways to do it, we need to find them. We do need to be cognizant of the deficit. But in the end, you put people first. And they don't need to listen to a big funding fight or philosophical debate. They need to know help is coming. It's coming in a timely fashion. And that the government that they count on to help them and that they've supported is going to be there to help.
Does that approach put you at odds with our U.S. senators?
I don't think so. Look, I think everybody wants to take care of people when they're hurt. We had the entire congressional delegation on the ground with the governor in a matter of 24 hours after the disaster. So I don't doubt anybody's genuinely interested. And again, I don't think anybody ought to be savage because they're trying to be careful with the public purse. I wish we had more people like that made sure we didn't get too deeply into debt. But insofar as we disagree, look, these are my friends, these are my colleagues. If we do disagree, that's fine. I mean, they're there to do what they think the right thing is. My job, I think, is abundantly clear in this case. I intend to do everything I can to make sure that the people I represent get the support and the help that they need. And if other people feel differently, well, we'll fight it out. And I think I'm more likely to win than lose in this particular instance.
Do you think Moore will rebuild differently this time?
I think so. After each one of these incidents, particularly after the one in '99, we have done things differently. But again, I don't want to suggest that the arc hasn't been in that direction anyway. That's really what we've been doing and have done, honestly, probably better than any other state, according to Secretary Napolitano at this. But, sometimes your best isn't good enough in retrospect. So we're going to have to do better. And I think we will do better. Again, each time we've had one of these things, we've learned something from it. We've done things better afterwards. And, even in times when you have superb response, let's take the Oklahoma City bombing, where I think all across the country and disaster professionals will tell you, boy, that was an extraordinary response. And so obviously we had very good police and fire and first responder capability even in 1995. It's better today. We learned some tough lessons there. The training's better, the equipment's better. The focus on this is even higher, and so I think the same thing will come out of this.